Hello, this is Mick Foley, and you are listening to James and Florence on the Forum.
Hi, everyone. This is James Patrick, and welcome to the Forum. Last week, we did an amazing show with Harry Thomason, one of the most powerful director and producers on television, especially during the 80s and 90s, The Fall Guy, Designer Women, Emerald, just so many shows, too many shows to list, and also right-hand man to a president, and who else can put in their resume that they helped a president get elected? So the guy was a bigwig. I don't know how I did it without my partner, but I struggled. I did get through it, but thank God she's back. How are you, Florence?
I am doing much better. Thank you so much. And I thought your interview with Harry was amazing. I thought it was one of the best. I'm sorry that I missed it because I am such a huge fan of Designing Women, The Fall Guy. He did so many amazing shows and movies, and I was so sad to miss it, but I thought you did amazing. He was wonderful, and obviously, I mean, we're getting so many views on YouTube, so everybody else is loving it too. So kudos to you, James. You did an amazing job last week.
Well, I'm still shaking. It's very, very, how could you not be overwhelmed by someone like that who breaks bread with a president? So it was that was probably our biggest guy that we ever did. So however your politics sway, it was an amazing time. And he was such a fascinating guy. And please check out his website. And also some of the things that he talked about, his love of history, just like mine, ex-football coach and his history teacher, amazing career that he's had, and he's still going in television's lovely wife. So anyway, we have another young, bust, amazing filmmaker that does it. I don't know if there's anyone in right now that's working harder than this man, and we are such big fans. And why don't you introduce our next guest?
Yes, I am very excited to have him back. He is a friend to our Jim Jax Media family, and he has done so much. I mean, the movies, the countless movies. He's an actor, director, writer. His name is James Quinn. He's been in so many movies, The Dark Knight Rises, Sandman, Checkmate. You can see his movies everywhere now. Amazon Prime Video, PureFlix, Walmart, just to name a few. He is everywhere. He's doing it. He's living the dream. Welcome back to the Forum, James Quinn. How are you, James?
Hi, Florence. I'm doing great. How are you and Jim?
Oh, we're great. Great, JQ. You're a big wrestling fan, as I am, and I remember when the Macho Man first came out, and he was considered the biggest agent on the market, and that's how we look at you. You are the epic free agent, the talent extraordinaire out there, and wow, it just must be really fun to be doing all the things that you're doing. You are really cranking out the movies.
Oh, I appreciate it. I take that as a high compliment. I'm a big fan of the Macho Man, and I do follow that recipe to a T. I love everything they did, so I thank you for that. That means a lot.
Now, we interviewed a while back, but we didn't kind of when did you first really the acting, filmmaking bug? Or was it something that was entrenched since you were little? When was the first time that you really thought, man, that's something I want to do?
Well, the first, like I've talked about in the past, this is my second time around in the industry this past decade. The first time around, I knew that I wanted to do it. I did school plays and some commercials, and I was a kid, and I got away from it for a long time because it just really wasn't the technology that we have today to stay up on everything. And when I came back, I really got the bug after The Dark Knight Rises and doing a few other films like Jack Reacher and getting back on set, meeting people, getting in front of the camera again. Once I got to see all the magic happen and what can be done with the product, I just fell in love again. And I never see me looking the other way now. It's got the pedal to the floor, and I'm just so happy to be here, man. It's been about a decade probably where the bug really took over. But everything, it's probably been 25, 28 years in the making from start to now, though.
Mm-hmm. Now, everyone, I wanted to also ask you, a couple of people had asked, what did you, in the movie Sandman, that was my favorite of yours so far, was that a did you have to go through special training? What did you do to prepare for that film?
Well, leading up, I took a couple of months to just alter my conditioning a little bit. I used to box in the late 90s and in Golden Glove tournaments and things like that, the amateur. So I had an idea of the background. I'd been there before. But to be at the level that I was portraying in the film, it required a little bit different training. So I had to get in there with some pros that have been there. And my opponent in the film, the Puerto Rican Prince, Jose Caraballo, who is a professional boxer, he got me into the right shape I needed to be in for a couple months leading up to the film. So he's the guy you see me fight at the beginning of the film, and he made sure that I followed that critique and that regimen, to a T, because it was a lot of years in between my last fight and getting back in that ring, so it took a lot.
My uncle was a Golden Gloves fighter and he was famous in the San Francisco Bay Area. And I tried boxing, but it made my face look too different. So I stopped and it hurt. So I thought maybe this isn't the thing for me. But I so respect the training that you have to do for boxing. And it's not just the 6-pack and all that stuff. It's really an endurance of will, of pain, there's just so many physical things that you have to go. And I do miss that because I thought that was fun, but not maybe fun, but it was very challenging. And I thought in this movie, you really portrayed it. There was really a testosterone driven. For me, I really enjoyed it.
Well, thank you. That's been one of my favorites because a lot of the story's been a true story about my own background, and so that was kind of it was a close piece to my heart. So I'm glad you were able to see how we wanted to convey that on camera because it meant a lot to us.
Now, the short films, where do you get the ideas for the short films? Working with other people? Because these are getting very popular and a lot of people are doing them. What is kind of your motivation behind the short films? Is it an idea that comes up? How do you go about making one?
Yeah, there's a lot of different variables that come into play here. One being, a lot of people tend to forget sometimes, and I know you guys know this, I'm just saying this for the people at home that may be younger and don't know that, the American cinema was founded on the short film. Short films, silent films, these were things that really got the ball jumping in the industry. And so I like to kind of pay tribute to that. So sometimes when we do that, it's our way of paying homage to the past and how it all began. Another reason is, as an independent, your budgets aren't always at first starting out what you need. And so in order to paint a picture to potential investors, sometimes the best thing to do is do a short variation of a feature film or a series that you want to do later. And this really paints a picture to them of what it can look like if they want to get on board with you. You win awards and you really, you get a pop from the crowd just like they do in wrestling. And when people really start talking about it, like we did with Sandman, we got buzz around the world on that. Doesn't always happen with a short film, but, that's the kind of things that open investor guys and go, you know what, we kind of want to get on board with these guys and see what they're going to do next.
Now let's go. First of all, before we go into some of the films that you're working on that are in post-production and you're filming, who are some people, actors and filmmakers, that are kind of people that you look up to that inspire you?
Oh, there's so many greats. We're going to talk about one right now. You just did your book review on, and that was Michael J. Fox. I'll never get enough of MJF. Back to the Future is my favorite franchise of all time. Michael Keaton, he's from my hometown of Pittsburgh, and everything Michael Keaton in my eyes turns to gold, man. I mean, just he can sell a scene just with facial expressions. Matthew McConaughey, more modern. I love everything Matthew does. I think that he's actually a very brilliant actor, and so I had a chance to work with him a few years back, and that was nice.
Cool.
Yeah, those guys are really Michael Caine. I mean, there's some. The list is just probably endless that we could talk about them all day. So many inspirations. Nicholas Guest, who's a good friend of mine from Christmas Vacation, he taught me a lot.
Oh, wow.
Todd Chester. Yeah, we worked on Before the Border. We did together, which is on PureFlix and Amazon Prime. So I learned a lot from him.
I think what I loved about Michael J. Fox is that he wasn't the first person, as many know, that was the first actor. It was Eric Stoltz, but Eric Stoltz, who's an extremely good actor, just was a little too serious. They said he was a little bit too dramatic. It just wasn't what they wanted. Then when Michael J. Fox came on, it was just that fun-loving, that personality, that just boyish charm that he has. And that's one of my films that when it's on TV, I always watch it. Or what?
Even the third. Can't miss it.
Yeah, even the third one that was a little weird, I still watch it, and the acting is so good. Everybody's so talented, and the writing is really, really fun. So one of my favorites, the original Star Wars I love, but yeah, MJ, and we wish huge shout outs to MJ fighting a real bad Parkinson's disease. And so please go to his website as well to help out in any way you can with all the research that they're doing. But now let's go on to the one that I wanted to talk to you about was The Clearing. And I was reading up on that. You discussed that movie because it sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, it is, and I'm still waiting to hear on distribution. I think COVID kind of slowed things down for everybody a lot this year, so I want to say it's going to be in 21, probably sometime early. It's about the storm that really just devastated not just a community but an entire nation years back, and so they're going back and they're retracing the steps of what the effects were on the storm to the people that were there at the time. And my particular character had been somebody who was a kid at the time, and he was trying to remember things through what his parents, how they were acting, and what the effects were on them, and what he remembered that altered them, and his dad, for instance, just not being the same afterwards. And so I had to go back and recall that. So it was just, this crazy storm. Picture Jaws, but in a storm. And,
yeah,
it just terrorizes and devastates an entire community, and then. I'm sorry.
It reminded me a little bit of Twister when Helen Hunt's character, that no one really got, the F5 and all that stuff, but she had seen it and it killed her father. And she became just obsessed with storms. And one time she almost died because she just wanted to look into it. And it was just, storms really do something to you, especially if it's tragedies where it's flood or a bad lightning storm or something like that. So I think this one psychologically is going to be fun to watch.
Oh, for sure. It's probably different than any other story I've been a part of, that's for sure. And so I think it's really unique and it's really well told. And I think hopefully we'll have a trailer out to show everyone soon. I know that's something that they were working very hard on. Very talented group of people. So I'm glad you checked on that one. That one was one I'm looking forward to seeing as well.
Yeah. Now the other one I was Onies, and I haven't really saw much on it. Why don't you explain that when that out?
Yeah, I actually just got a notification from them the other day. They're looking for sometime around Valentine's Day. I believe they're going to have a release on them. But it's
cool.
It is a horror fan's horror film. Just think of like Wrong Turn and The Hills Have Eyes, cannibalism. And so this is the town that you don't want to end up in by accident, And
I like those towns.
Yeah, they feed off you literally, no pun intended, but yeah.
Wow,
it's a cool story. My character is married to basically the heroine of the film. She is the one that has to kind of come by and try to save the day. I'm the asshole husband that doesn't want to hear nothing she has to say. I'm not going to listen to nobody else. I don't like no guys talking to my wife. So I'm really, have that wilderness style about me where I'm not so necessarily apt to, changing to outsiders. I'm not really interested in them.
I wouldn't know about that, JQ.
Yeah.
Florence.
I thought it was fun to play because there's a certain demeanor that there is. When you live that lifestyle, you're very comfortable with the people around you. You're not really sure what to expect of people coming in from the outside.
Yeah, that also is very interesting. Do you like playing of the horror movie or the psychological thriller, or do you like the old school testosterone driven movie, or just kind of the bang 'em up movie? What's kind of your shoot 'em up movie? What's kind of your thing?
I like action, drama, and even comedy to a degree. I mean, horror is great. I love doing it. I prefer, if it's going to be horror now, I prefer it to be like a supernatural thriller. It's my own cup of tea. Something like the show Supernatural, man. I love it. That's kind of the type of film I'm working on right now. The blood and guts is cool, you know what I mean? But it's just such a high fan base for it, so I do enjoy doing it. And they are among the most loyal fans. But if I got to pick right now, just given my lifestyle and who I am and my demeanor, I love action, I love drama, I love to get involved in comedy from time to time.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of Don Coscarelli and the Phantasm thing, and boy, I'm you it when it first came out, it was it had a real little cult following. Now it's become huge. They're doing conventions on it, and who would have ever thought just a small budget film would ever be such a big deal? And they finally did their last one a couple years ago, and Angus Scrimm, the tall man, nicest man in the history, passed away as the bad guy. That would be kind of cool if you kind of got these cult followings with people getting these movies, because these movies are addicting. And I think you get kind of, I have to be honest with you, I haven't been scared in a movie in years. All these paranormal movies, they do seem very fake. I just don't like them. So I'm really looking forward to seeing yours.
Predictability, right? And so you're trying, after a while, you can kind of predict what's going to happen. And that's the tough part, is coming up with fresh ideas. Being
Yeah,
able
the
to
blonde girl
confuse.
always lives, the brunettes. So yeah, you get this. They're always, oh, don't go in the house. No, let's go where all the saws are and electrical are. Let's hide there. So yeah, it's kind of crazy. Now let's talk about the movie, The Paranauts.
I'm happy to say we're probably about 88% complete as of yesterday. We're getting there. So that is, yeah, it's a cool film that we started earlier in the year, and when COVID stepped in, it kind of, we would have probably been finished back in May. But we're basically a group of paranormal investigators, and we are investigating, this abandoned bank that has been sitting idle probably since the 1940s. It was built in the 1800s, and family had died through over the years. The family had died sporadically in the bank, very mysteriously. And so it was believed by the people in the town that it's being haunted by those family members. And so we can investigate that. What I love about the title with The Paranauts is it's a little bit different in the fact that we're not the most, I'm trying to think of the term I could use for it, but we're definitely not
Ghostbusters.
Yeah, we are. We're not the most legitimate ghost hunting team out there. We started out to be. And, throughout the years, we had to doctor up our evidence and keep things interesting, because we ended up gathering the most popular ghost hunting show on television, as it been told. And so we had to maintain that. And so we'd have our guys run around, and sometimes they'd have to rig things up. And so when we get thrown into a situation where we're really being haunted and having to kind of run for our lives, literally, that confuses even us. And so when we have an intern working for us who really thinks we're legit, and then when she figures out we're not, and we're really getting chased by these ghosts, now she's confused and really just driven crazy as to how the heck she's going to get through this. And so we really, I think it was a cool new spin that we put on things. We tried to pay homage to things like TV show Supernatural, and also a few little moments that might remind you of Scooby-Doo, one of my favorite childhood cartoons for sure. And it's a lot of fun, and it's anytime you can, play around with apparitions and things from the past as opposed to the old traditional blood and guts. I think it's a lot of fun. You got to rely on.
I think it is too. I think, what interests me, JQ, is that when you go to these shows, it's they'll be on for 10, 15 years, and there isn't one place they go that isn't extremely haunted. And it's just it's like finding Bigfoot. That was on for 10 years, and they never found Bigfoot. I guess it's just, some of these shows are so fake, and they're staged, and they have meters that are going, and oh my God, we got 6 apparitions. And I'm a huge skeptic. So Houdini was one of my idols, so I'm a huge skeptic, but I think this forward to this. This is going to be a great one.
We got a few things in there that I don't want to give away that I think will actually play into what you said earlier about wanting to not, to be confused a little bit and not being able to guess it. There's a couple of things we threw in there that you may not see coming in, and I hope that that's how it's conveyed, because that's what we're going for.
Oh, great. And the next one we want to talk about was Sickness, and that looked like more of a spy movie. I think you play a policeman in it, right?
Yeah, I was actually the chief of police. And that was 2014. It was a TV pilot made for television.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, it was right around. I mean, it was when probably The Walking Dead was at its height, so it was kind of like, it's not about zombies. It's kind of the alternative to zombies, where the sickness plagues everybody, and gives you kind of like that zombie-like feeling, and I'm not sure if it's got to kind of take on the community here and try to see who's sick and who's not, keep them away from the townspeople that haven't been infected, and it's a big domino effect because people get infected so quickly that you can't control it. I wish it would have taken off. It was, we had just gotten the pilot out there, and then that was as far as we've seen on it. I had heard back from them that they were attempting to come back with it last year, and so we'll keep our fingers crossed and see, because it had a ton of potential. Be that as it may, sometimes with a series especially, they don't always take off for one reason or another, and that was one of those times where I wish it had gone a little bit further, because I think we could have done a lot with it. But that being said, you had The Walking Dead, and that was just heavy duty competition.
Yeah, that's pretty hard to beat that. Harry Thomason was talking about how fickle heads of networks can be. And I remember when he said they told him they were going to cancel Designing Women, and a group of people contacted him, and he said, if we can get 4,000 letters, then, we'll keep the show on. Well, he had them actually send the letters CBS, and he got 45,000, and he was so angry that he called Harry up, put him in a limo, and said, "Don't talk." Drove over to where the U.S. flag was at the CBS thing. He took the U.S. flag down and put a white flag up, and he says, "We're keeping the show. You won," and left. So, and yeah, and you remember Hill Street Blues, they were going to, Stephen Bochco said they were going to cancel that. And a year and before they canceled that, the head of the network come in, and he's mad, and he's throwing things. He goes, "We can't, stupid show." And he goes, "Why?" He goes, "They got too many Emmy nominations." So the heads of networks aren't geniuses all the time. They miss out on a lot of shows. So, and this sounds like a great one.
And there's so many that you want to see. Staff fall in love with shows all the time, and the next thing you know, they're gone after 3 episodes or a season if they're lucky. And it's a shame, but that's network television for you, man. They're hit or miss.
Yeah, it's really sad. Now, Florence wanted to talk about what you were looking ahead.
Okay. Yes, I wanted to ask you, because I know you're working, like you just talked about, this great movie that you're working on now. I know so many people can't wait for 2020 to be over, because it's basically been the year that's really testing people in every manner of their life and their lifestyle. So I was just wondering, what do you hope for, and what do you see for yourself in 2021? I'm sure you cannot wait to start off the new year, and I just very curious to know what you see for yourself.
Oh man, I really can't wait to get on the road again. We're doing a lot at home right now because of COVID, and so we're isolated, and I just really hope this thing lifts so that I can, get back to towns like New York again, and Atlanta, and places that are just booming, and you're meeting so many wonderful people and getting creative with new faces all the time. I think that's what I hope for, is just that things can get back to some sense of normalcy, and we can continue to grow as artists. That's what I want. I have a few projects that are going to be released in 21, and one that we're going to go into production with in late spring. But aside from that, I want to start traveling again. I love it. I just want to get out there and expand our projects and then meet new people and work with the faces.
We had another question, JQ, from a fan, and he said, how can someone get on one of your movies? First, how do you pick them? And what do you look for in someone? Experience? You're looking for obviously the right price. You don't want, Mel Gibson or someone asking for $7 million, but what are some of the criteria that you have for someone, even to be an extra, that's someone that's just starting out, even to be an extra on one of your movies?
Yeah, so a couple of things. Sometimes if we're dependent upon where we're filming at, we'll reach out to the local casting agencies, especially for when it comes time for background or extras. And I love the term background actor. The term extra to me, they're actors, and you know what I mean. And it's how I started. So we like to make sure that they're treated like the artist. So we go through the background casting companies, and they take good care of us and try to find the faces and the style and the looks that we're looking for. So I would say, if you know that we're in your area, check with the local casting offices. Sometimes we'll post on our page directly if you email us with headshots, resumes, and it's all based on experience and the type of people that we're looking for. It doesn't always require experience, and you got to start somewhere. And so we like to audition new faces, but if you're willing to audition and put yourself out there. We like seeing people. We like trying to build them a foundation because it gives us new faces to work with. So we always encourage new people to submit to us. You can send us DMs or email us at any time. You can always email me your materials, and I'm always happy to take a look at them. May not get back that day, but I will get back at some point. Who knows? Maybe we'll be in their area and they can come work with us, or vice versa.
And also another one said, I'm 20 years old. I've got a couple commercials, couple things going on big, but what advice would you give them?
Just starting is to keep plugging away. So if you got a couple of commercials, get a couple dozen, get 30, get 40 of them under your belt. Auditions, go audition. I auditioned so much, and I still do, especially early on, that you just, you get splinters on your feet. You're walking through so many doors. And so that's what you need to do. Continually pound the pavement. You have to have a positive attitude because the rate of being heard, the term no, is so high. But you got to play the numbers game, So if you only go to 10 auditions and you don't get a call back, then you need to go to 100 and maybe you'll get 2. So you don't get it without trying. And I think if you have the right personality and the right attitude, you keep plugging. Don't be afraid to take that featured role, in background on certain projects, to get out there and to network and to show people yourself. Audition, find the independent communities in your area, wherever this person is from. Find out where they're casting at and audition for their films, because getting into independent film is really the best way to build your resume as an actor. It's where you get your material and your reels put together. And then the higher ups can see what you can do at that point. It takes a couple years, within 3-4 years, sometimes to gather everything up. But once you build it, you're off and running. It's just a lot of work. Those first 5 to 10 years is a lot of grind. But if you're willing to pay the price, the outcome is, the road is endless. I'm just looking at what we're doing right now, but it took a lot of years to get there, and a long way to go yet.
Oh, another thing, when you go in, and this is maybe more of an act question, because I never knew about this. They asked, if you go to doing for a specific role, should you kind of go in character dressing up, or should you just dress up professionally and go? How should you do it?
That's a good question.
That is a good question. It depends on what the role is. You can never go wrong with professional. You always take a risk by going too method too quick. It depends on the type of director you're in front of. The safe bet is always professional look. Yes, sir, and no, sir. Eye contact. You're wearing your nice clothes, no matter what the type of role is. Now, there's a percentage of people that will be intrigued by that person that shows up and goes method at the audition. So I'm not saying don't do it, but I'm saying the safe bet is always coming in as a professional and making eye contact and wearing your nice clothes, and just showing them who you are as a person.
What is the worst mistake done so far in Hollywood?
Oh, geez. That's a good one, because we've made several mistakes. I'd say that's how we learn from them. I think expecting too much too soon. You got to go in there guns a-blazing, but thinking that things were going to happen overnight. I think that especially when you're young and you come into business and you think you get that first role, okay? Because I was told yes very quickly, and then you hear a string of no's, and you're like, what the hell just happened? Because you think that it's always going to be that way. And so I think the worst mistake for me was just thinking that I had it coming. I had to learn that I had to pay my dues and get myself where I needed to be by working my ass off. And I think the biggest mistake is getting told yes a couple times and thinking from here on out you're going to be handed the world, but it's not the case. I think it just doesn't matter if you're 10 years in the business. You need to treat it like it's your first one and go hard and show them that you're here to be, the guy they can count on.
Oh, absolutely. Now, we'll give you the last. What would you tell your fans about some of the upcoming movies and some of the past movies you really think that you'd like people to check out?
Yeah, I think one of the first ones would be our recently released Checkmate. It's on Blu-ray and DVD at Walmart and in Walmart.com, BarnesandNobles.com. It's streaming on Prime Video. I would say that's a fun action film, Jim. I think everyone that you and Florence would enjoy that's of the action genre. If you get a chance, a fun film for the family that we've worked on in the past is Before the Border, and that is from 2013, and it's currently on PureFlix and Prime Video. I have a supporting role in that, but it's probably about maybe 5-6 scenes for the middle of the film. But it was a great experience for me, a turning point in my career. That's where I met my good friend Nicholas Guest, who was in Christmas Vacation, Trading Places, The Long Riders, taught me a lot. That's a very good film that I think the whole family would enjoy. If you're a horror fan, No Knock List until recently was on Amazon Prime, but from what I've been told, it's temporarily pulled because they're reshopping it to other networks right now that they have under new management. So they're looking for bigger and better things for it. So keep your eyes peeled for that.
Wow.
Somewhere in 21, you're going to see that turn up on a big project.
Wow, that is awesome. That is fantastic. I'm actually going to check out Checkmate, just so you know. I planned on doing that. I have a couple of weeks coming up vacation because I work out of school. I'm in education. Okay. And we have a holiday break coming up. So I actually had that on my list. I was trying to find some movies and some things, to watch to keep me busy in the next couple of weeks, since I don't know if we're going to be with our families over the holidays. It looks a little iffy. Thanksgiving, we weren't able to. I don't know about Christmas, but definitely going to check out some of those movies. And Checkmate's already on my list. So absolutely, we'll be doing that. I'm very excited. And again, thank you so much for doing this, because, James and I are huge fans. We think the world of you, and we're very excited for your success. We always say you are the hardest working actor that we know. You're always doing something, whether it's screenwriting, directing, acting, or all of the above. So thank you so much for doing this. We really appreciate it. And to all your fans out there, we will be putting this out next week, and you guys definitely check out his movies, because he's a very talented actor. And again, I already have them on my list, so I'm excited to be seeing them. So thank you again, James. Thank you so much.
No, thank you. And I really appreciate you checking out my work and being so supportive. And you and Jim are the best. I'm so happy to be here talking to you again, because you're so supportive, and to the entire, not just the film community, but the entertainment community. You do so much to help build them, and I want to thank you guys for that.
Oh, that's so good. Yeah, it's actually raining this weekend, and I have a bunch of work to do, so I'm going to be watching. It's a JQ weekend. I'll be watching several of your movies this weekend and checking them out. And I'm going to give some vibes next week online for everybody to check them out, and some links. So again, I have to be honest with you. I'm so down on movies and television anymore. It's just hard to get good stuff. And what I love about the indie movement is that in the last 10, 15 years, the indie films have just blown up. They are so good. And JQ works so hard on them. So please support your indies. The thing is that there's a lot of background stuff. And like I said, I brought up Phantasm. That was not really that big of a movie when it came out, but over time people got into it more. And now they're having conventions over it because people are so into it. So please support your indie talent. And JQ is online, and we're going to give all his posts to and check out his IMDB for sure. But we're going to give out all his Twitter accounts, everything that you could contact him at. Not promising anything, but again, you got to be persistent. So please follow him. And again, next week on Monday, we'll give all his contacts. JQ, thank you so much. We look forward to working with you more in the future and talking to you, and keep up the great work.
Thank you, Jim and Florence. I appreciate that, and I look forward to talking to you again. Thanks for having me.
All right.
Thank you.
Sure.